All right, folks, Samori Benjamin here at Citi Field on Jackie Robinson Day. Pre-game, I'm here with Pittsburgh Pirates first base coach, Tarrik Brock. Tarrik, nice meeting you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Now, I know, obviously baseball has been in your blood since you were growing up and all that. So how did you first get into baseball?
Man, we moved to a new neighborhood, and right across the street was a baseball diamond. And I didn't think much of it, and then come March, I hear a bunch of cars honking their horns and kids carrying banners and dressed up in their baseball uniforms. And I said, hey, I told my dad, I said, I want to do that. So he went to go sign me up, but the registration was closed, so I had to sit a whole year and watch kids play, which helped grow the hunger to be able to play baseball.
Nice. So what part of the country was this?
Los Angeles.
In LA, okay, so LA has a lot of black ball players come out of there, I know. Awesome. So growing up at that time, who were some of the ball players who really inspired you?
Really, so local boys, Dusty Baker, Reggie Smith, and then you go a little bit further south in LA, you call Anaheim, so you have Reggie Jackson and Rod Carew.
No doubt. Now, were there some ball players who made it to the major leagues? I'm sure there were, who you came up playing with and playing against?
Yes, there's a kid that I played Little League with that also played in the big leagues down in San Diego. It was Damian Jackson. It was just fun to see him play against him coming up, and then just to see us now on this side where we're out of playing, just how we just enjoyed the game and the memories that we have of playing.
Now, were you a fan of any other sport growing up?
Oh, football and basketball. Like, you can't grow up in LA in the 80s and not love the Lakers as much as they won. So my parents drugged me out to all the parades growing up, so it was there. And then how can you not be a Dodger fan? Because that's where we had Little League night. And so you could sit way up at the top, and then Fernando Mania was running wild during that time too. So yeah, the Lakers and the Dodgers. I was a homegrown kid.
Right, okay, and you got drafted in about 91, right? 91?
Yes, 1991.
Okay, so in high school, before you were drafted out of high school, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in high school, what do you remember just the competition being like in baseball in high school in LA?
Right, so, there weren't too many black kids playing baseball. It was either you played football, ran track, or basketball. I was one of the weird ones. Our football coach was also the track coach. And he told me, you're going to run the 100 and the 400. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a baseball player. And I had to prove it. And so I went out and played over the summer. And then I came back, and when it was time to do football, I had to start off carrying the Gatorade bottles and the towel because I came out late from playing baseball. And then when I started playing, it was like, okay, you can actually do both. So I was the exception, as well as two other guys that played football and baseball.
Okay. And so at what point did you think that you had a real shot of making it, of being drafted and making a major league path for yourself?
Well, you started to get to your junior year. We started going and playing on these weekend teams that scouts would have. They call them scout ball, but this is a different type of scout ball. And you would play against older kids, and you would hold your own. You would get your butt kicked, and then you would smile and then come back the next day. So going back on the second year, my senior year, more guys started coming up asking more questions. So I figured I got a chance. I was already, a scholarship athlete in football, so it was like, man, to have options was really good. But then I got drafted, and then life completely changed in that moment where I had to make a tough decision.
Okay. And so what do you remember just about being drafted?
I remember back then we had answering machines. You didn't have cell phones. You had the old school landline, and then you had an answering machine. So I remember coming back and my mother pressing the answering machine and hearing that I got drafted. And so we both jumped and ran outside. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening.
And which team drafted you?
Detroit Tigers.
Detroit Tigers, okay. Yeah. So I know you spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, and minor leagues is very tough. And in fact, that's the reason that it's given sometimes as why some black American kids don't choose the baseball path because of the minor league process and all that. So I know you had a long minor league process, so
yes.
How was that experience for you?
Man, so I had two long experiences. One as a player, which took me 8 years before I finally got here, which I was grateful to. Made my debut against the Mets in Tokyo, Japan. And then when I started coaching, it was another 10 years. So it was just perseverance. So especially that just holds true on a day like today where we talk about Jackie Robinson Day, right? Not giving up, right? Fighting back with your skill and the human being that you are, because you don't stick around that long unless you have skills and you're a quality individual. So thank you. Shout out to my parents and the Lord for blessing me with favor to last as long. So Yeah, it's just been a blessing. You know, one thing you start out as a hope and a dream, and then you look up 33 years later and it's a career.
Yeah, and so it had to be a great feeling for you when you made your Major League debut in 2000, like you said, in Tokyo with the Cubs against the Mets. And I mean, a little different because your family, I'm not sure if they were there. It's a long journey for them to get to Tokyo and all that. So just how was that? What do you remember about 2000 making your MLB debut in Tokyo?
Well, I mean, it was great, and so it was good. Like, we're a day ahead, and so I remember calling my family after the game, and they woke up early in California and watched the game, and we just all celebrated. It was like, it just made me think about the hours that my parents drove me to and from, about my wife, you know, who stuck with me, who helped me not quit because it's like, most people's like, I never thought about quitting. Like, if you play this game long enough and you get your rear end handed to you sometimes, you think, is this really for me? So you just become grateful of all that time. And then sometimes, you know, when you're weak, he is strong. And so with that being said, it just makes for a cool journey. And sometimes the journey isn't always how you think it would be, but just over this time, I've been able to be in this seat where I've been more selfless as a player. Like, you focus on yourself, but as a coach, you become selfless. Like, you become, you know, you serve others. And so I wouldn't have it no other way.
Right, so 8.5 years, 9 years before you made your Major League debut, what kept you focused and made you decide to keep staying with it and not give up?
Well, it's the little kid in me, the kid from Holly Park, the kid that used baseball as a source of refuge, a way to diffuse pain in a healthy way, a way to just keep going, to be a better teammate. Like, baseball taught me so many lessons, right? Like, my first year after playing pro ball and having to go back home, like, I cried because I was going to miss my teammates, and I had an unbelievable experience, right? I went from living in, you know, South Los Angeles, South Central, to all of a sudden I'm in Bristol, Tennessee, learning life lessons, right? And first time I come in contact with guys from the Caribbean. So, like, my whole world just expanded and it grew so much. And, like, I cried because it was like, I didn't want to stop living that. You know, it was a whole new world. So, I mean, that's what this game, you know, has done for me. It's like, it helped me grow up, expand my horizons, and then change my perspective on life.
That's beautiful. Now, your first Major League hit in Tokyo, I believe Sammy Sosa got thrown out at the plate, right?
Yes.
Now, what was it like just being a teammate of Sammy Sosa's?
It was awesome. The cool thing about that back then, he was 21 and I was 22, so our lockers was right next to each other.
Right, okay.
So I just got to watch him, see how he went about his day. Like, certain things I was able to mimic, certain things I wasn't, but I took what I could and did it. One thing, he just enjoyed life, he enjoyed the game, so that was one thing that I could just continue to show through how I went about my business, and it was great. And, like, everyone doesn't get to do what you do, but everyone has something special that they're able to do while they're on this earth.
Right. Now, when you get back to the States in 2000, do your parents get to see you play in person in the U.S. in the majors?
No, actually didn't. Well, that's a lie. I said my dad did, and then my wife, of course, and my son was little. The cool thing now with you know, television and things like that, they get to see me every night. So I think that's really good. And then I look forward to the emails I get or the text messages I get at night. You know, hang in there, you'll get them tomorrow, that I get from my parents. The same thing that I got when I was an 8-year-old kid.
Beautiful. Now, okay, coaching. So how did you get into coaching after you start the playing days?
I think what happens is as you go and you share. I came from a generation where you shared and you want to see other guys succeed, and they shared information with you. And so coaches saw that. And so the third base coach for the Dodgers now, Dino Evo, saw something in me. And Terry Collins, you know, longtime manager, saw something and said, you'll be a great coach. And I was like, that's cool, but I want to keep hitting this ball and chasing it. And then sometimes it's just cool, like people see things in you that when you kind of start to wind down, you find yourself being a player coach and just easily making the transition. So I took a year off, and in that year I was coaching. I was coaching my little kids, TJ and Chris, and their teammates. And then I said, you know what? I just feel like there's much more for me to do that I want to give back to the game that gave so much to me.
Now, what were some of your minor league styles coaching, and what do you think was the biggest point in coaching that enabled you to get here?
Well, I would say my first year coaching, I coached in the Pioneer League in Ogden, Utah. I had Lance Parrish was our manager, and he allowed me to just to game plan to write out practices, to go out and run them, and it helped me grow so much. But then I owe a lot of my coaching to two players that are superstars in the game right now, Giancarlo Stanton and Christian Yelich. I was able to coach them, on the off season. And so when you have talent like that, they push you to grow and grow. So I got to coach year round, where some guys went home and maybe didn't coach those type of athletes in the off season, where I was blessed to do so.
That's awesome. My favorite Yankee is Giancarlo Stanton. I'm a big fan of his. Yankees got him after he hit 59 home runs, and I was very happy they did. And
yes,
I'm a big fan of his. Now, just did you get a chance to manage the minor leagues?
No.
Okay. Now, there hasn't been a lot of major league managers. I've done a study myself. There's been less than 20 Afro-American major league managers in the history of the game. Is it something that I'm sure you would like to maybe someday become a manager here?
Right.
Is that something that you would like to do?
I definitely would love to lead men, but in my role, I lead men every day. So whatever, the Lord's will is for me, if it's to manage or stay in the role that I'm in now, where I get to have fun, encourage others, be in the day-to-day grind with them, like I'll serve him in that manner. So if that's the route that I take, then I'll embrace it and do the best I can in it. But if it's here and serving in the gifting I have right now, which is a passion for base running, base stealing, outfield, and bunting, I'll stick with that.
We got a couple more for you.
Yes.
Now, when did you finally reach the major leagues as a major league coach?
Oh man, that's a cool story. I was a rover, outfield and base running coordinator. I was in Las Vegas, Nevada with my oldest son. He was qualifying for the Junior Olympics. And so we were at a track meet and I got a call like, hey, can you meet the major league team in San Juan, Puerto Rico? Like, of course I can. How long is this for? We wasn't sure. So we drive back from Las Vegas. I take the red eye. I land in Puerto Rico. And that night I'm coaching against the Mets.
Wow.
So not only did I make my major league debut against the Mets, but my major league coaching debut was against the Mets in two different places. One, Tokyo, and the other one, San Juan, Puerto Rico. And so that's how I got the call, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how things work out like that sometimes.
Yes.
Now, Pittsburgh, I know, has a really strong history of black baseball.
Yes.
And Josh Gibson and Pittsburgh Crawford's Homestead Grays and all that. And they were even the first major league team to start 9 ball players where they were all black, either black American or black Latin, and in the 1970s. So just what's it been like to just be in the city right now, and how much interest do you see now in baseball in the black community?
Wow, since I've been there, I've been able to get in the community and spend some time with some young black athletes, which is really, really cool. And then just learning more about the history, because you come from California, it's like Jackie Robinson is pretty much our history in Dodger baseball. But when you come out to Pittsburgh, you learn so much more, right? You learn about Josh Gibson, and Sean Gibson has been great as far as just teaching me and just handing me stuff to just digest in our conversations. You go like, oh my gosh. So now it makes the stories that my parents told me, about Cool Papa Bell, Satchel Paige, like all those stories become so surreal to me now. And so to be where I'm at now, to be able to serve in such a, historic franchise, I don't take it for granted.
And today, everybody wears number 42. So what's it like to be able to wear 42 and see all the players, everybody out there is wearing number 42, Jackie Robinson Day?
Man, I don't take it for granted. I remember when I was in the minor leagues seeing guys wearing a 42. I'm like, man, I can't wait till that day comes for me. So to be able to do it for as long as I have and wear it tonight, man, it's nothing but an honor.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's nothing like celebrating, someone's life that impacted so many others, right? And so it's like, man, how can I do that on just a small level every day? Could it be handing the ball? Can it be the person that's serving me, my food, a smile? Because I want everyone to walk away from me saying, hey, man, I really love my interaction with them. And that's what comes with growth, because we all don't start that way, right? But we can end up that way. And so it's just, as life, you're supposed to grow, learn from your mistakes, and just become the best human being as you can, and then live by the ultimate role model, was the one that gave us life for us.
That's great life lessons. Tarrik Brock, Pittsburgh Pirates first base coach. You have a story that is very inspiring, and a long-time baseball man. You persevered. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right,
Take
folks.
care.
We're back.